One.
Oh, howdy, chatty.
Good morning.
Who's Andrew? Who are all the people on the wall behind you?
It's the ladies that work here when I'm not at this store. Also, there's this beautiful picture. We got Riley, Katie, Susan. This one's of me from 2 years ago. Look at those lovely locks.
That would probably be what some would call the COVID cut.
I tell people that I actually got this cut when they see this. So
that is beautiful. Were you a rocker through and through, or what? I know you're a singer.
I tried it, but when I wore a hat, I looked like Wayne from Wayne's World, and my wife did not approve.
It seems like that's a theme. Wife's not approving. Is Trent Ranburger, are you on here? Let me go to gallery view. There he is.
There he is. He's in a car. Oh, not anymore.
And he disappeared.
Yep.
We'll get him back at some point here. Oh, Trent has no sound. Okay, hold on, Trent. Let's see if we can get you fixed up here. Okay. That's going to be a real issue if Trent has no sound.
Right. If the host. Well,
So-
we can all read lips. Can we have captions down below? Can we type captions in real time, Mark?
Yeah, we've got that. Bob, you can be on deck. Doug Guffey's on here. He's always up for a good conversation.
We could have round
All right,
table
Trent.
questions.
Okay, Trent. Now I can ask to unmute you. Let's see if that'll fix the problem.
Can you hear me?
There you go,
Yes.
buddy.
Yeah, I feel like the Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now?
Well, isn't it? Wait. The Verizon guy went to Sprint though.
He did.
You did.
He's a sellout.
Yeah, that had to be harsh. So
I can-
I'm going to post something real quickly because I'm interested. And if you all would send this around just to your retail friends or just people like in your offices, I'm trying to get a sense of who's going to go to Vegas Market. And I think it's on a lot of people's minds. So here's like a quick little survey I'll post in the chat. It's like 3 questions. Let me know if you're going to go to Vegas Market. I've heard a lot of different opinions on this. And I think retailers, suppliers, everybody's trying to get a sense of what's going to happen this summer. So yeah, let us know.
Hey, Mark, did you hear that they're splitting it into 2 sessions?
Splitting summer market into 2 sessions.
Yeah, I just heard yesterday that they're going to suggest that people indicate, much like I think they did for High Point, 2 different sets of dates, and that would actually extend out through Friday of the second of the week, which is a little iffy because that's leading into Labor Day weekend.
Right.
And I can't think that retailers, anybody is going to want to be in Vegas through that Friday. All they need to get store traffic built going into Labor Day weekend.
Right. Yeah. Good point. Good point. So Gym Nation. Hi, Jim. Jim, we were just talking about who's thinking about going to Vegas Market. So I posted a little survey link in the chat, which you can find the chat bar down at the bottom of your screen. Open it up. Feel free to send that around to people so we can get a sense of who's going to go. And then Dave was saying they're going to split it into 2 sessions. Did they give any more definition to that, Dave, or is it something that media reported?
I heard it from a peer of mine. Or during a conference call on Monday. I don't know the source. I'm assuming it was the market. But I honestly don't know anything more than that. It was just in conversation.
Okay. Good. Well, yeah, keep us, we'll kind of keep everybody posted as we hear more information. And then, like I said, toss that survey link around to a few people. It's 3 questions or 2 or 3 questions just to get a sense of who's thinking about heading out. I've heard some people talk about treating it more like a regional market. I've heard some people say, I'm not going to go. I've heard a lot of people talk about back in January. So we have a showroom manager that lives in Vegas. She's a Vegas native, and she's phenomenal. And we were talking the other day. Her name's Rebecca, and I asked her. I said, "Have you heard of anybody that says they may have contracted COVID or what they thought was COVID during Las Vegas furniture market?" And she said, furniture market came on the heels of CES, which is the big giant consumer electronics show. And she said, if you look back, even there were tweets and posts and all kinds of information about the CES flu. And it was kind of a loose term for people had something and it seemed kind of flu-like, and it swept CES. And I've talked to people who even attended market that said, I'm not so sure I didn't have this already. So I will say this about Trent, our guest host for today. He was in need of some vitamin D. So he found his way, for health reasons, obviously. So he found his way out of Bowling Green, Kentucky, and I believe is near a beach. Is this all true?
Sounds true.
Are you talking to me? I can't hear you guys hardly at all.
Oh no, you can't hear us?
Very, very quiet. Like, I'm really trying to pay attention.
So I can hear you well, Mark.
It may be my connection.
Yeah. We can hear him.
Yeah, we
The
can hear you
Florida
just fine,
connection
Trent.
isn't as good.
We can hear you just fine, Trent.
Okay.
Can you get to Wi-Fi?
Yeah. It'll be just a few minutes. We had to run to the store.
Okay, beer run. I got you.
But I can hear you. I mean, I can hear. I just have to pay real close attention to what you're saying.
Gotcha. Well, tell us what you've been up to. Just launch into it. I know that we kind of talked about whenever you were engaging the community during COVID and all the different things you did, and I'm really interested to hear about the community response now that you've come back into the marketplace, and some of those stories about what people are saying about your response and about your community engagement during COVID. And somebody's screaming "mommy," by the way.
Yeah, that's my friend's daughter in the back seat.
Okay, gotcha.
No, no, when we were shut down, it was I was like, how do I stay engaged? How do I keep my fans engaged, my clients engaged? So, I was doing like Facebook Live videos and not only talking about my business, but other local businesses in Bowling Green and surrounding communities where I live. And that's, that was my biggest thing, was just trying to help other businesses stay relevant as well as my own. And just circle around. And it turned out really, really well for me, actually. And a lot of other businesses. I had a lot of businesses kind of do the same thing in our area. And some folks in this group did the same thing in their area. And it was just keeping everyone relevant while we were shut down. I mean, I was shut down 9 weeks. And when we opened back up, it has been a whirlwind of business. We've been blessed. It's been crazy. But it really worked. And now, we're just trying to stay engaged on social media as much as possible.
Tell us some of the stories about what people have said since they've come back, because I think you mentioned that by virtue of you highlighting some of the other businesses out there and making them kind of the hero of the story and trying to drive likes and comments to their pages, you've had customers come in who saw that and really respected it. What are some of those stories that have bubbled up since you've come back?
It was a hit, so to speak. I mean, people loved what we did. I've made sales because of what we did. I had a lady come in week 1 or 2 that we were open, and she said, I seen that you were posting about McGowan TV, which is a local TV shop in Bowling Green. And it was actually a relative of the owner. she was like, you did that, and that's why we're here. So, I mean, I've made sales because of that, because it's about giving. It's not always about taking. And the more people I can help, the better off everyone is the way I look at it. And it worked. It worked well. I've been very, very blessed with it.
What was your May like? Talk about business in May. I've heard a lot of people say the month of May was their biggest single month in business ever. Talk about the month of May and kind of what you saw from a numbers perspective.
Well, I was closed until the 18th. I opened up on the 18th of May. So I had 0 sales until the 18th of May. And the remainder of May, I beat last year's May in 2 weeks and a few days. So I was fortunate that my fans waited, and people told me that they waited, but I've heard that everyone's May, kind of like you just said, Mark, was crazy, which is great. It was good for us, and she's waving. Yeah, it was. Like I said, I opened up the 18th of May, and it was gangbusting since then. I can't keep up with inventory. I grossly underestimated how much inventory I needed. So it's been a little bit of a wait process of getting inventory, which was completely my fault, but it's working out great. Customers are understanding. People understand that they're willing to wait.
I noticed the video you posted. You, for the first time, you said in 14 years, had the entire truck completely dedicated to Trent bedding. Was that just a product of people kind of waiting for Trent to open back up, and so you needed that whole truck? And that had to feel good.
Oh, it was crazy. A lot of it was inventory, but most of it was for customers. And in 14 years in 22 years of business doing this, 14 on my own, I've never had a whole truck. It was 157 pieces, I think. I mean, which a lot of people may do that all the time. I'm a single store, never had that happen.
Never has it happened. Wow, that's great. So I know it's tough to make predictions at this point, but have you seen any kind of signs of a slowdown? Like there was pent-up demand, you're seeing a big surge, and then you expect things to kind of trail off and we get back into the holiday cadence. What's your sense of it at this point?
That's one thing I think you and I've talked about, and I've talked about with several people. Was this going to be just a wave? And if so, how big is the wave and how long is it going to last? We're still in a wave for us. So, I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't know if this changes everything. But, we've been open now, almost a month, I guess. And it hasn't really slowed down. I mean, we've had some of our biggest weeks in store history. And some of that could be pent-up demand. But, I don't know. I think we are. It's a wave, and I just don't know how big it is. I think you talked in one of the last meetings, is this a V? Are we in a W? We don't know. I don't think anybody can predict that because it's never happened. So, but as of right now, we're having some of our best weeks ever. So we're very blessed.
Trent, when you look at customers coming into the marketplace, are you seeing different demands on your sales staff or on your store environment? Are people generally wearing masks or not wearing masks, or wanting bed napkins or not wanting bed napkins? Is there any type of theme there, consistency from the customers? Is it mixed? What are you seeing? What's your observation?
No consistency, none. We have people that come in wearing masks. If they're wearing masks, we put mask on. If they're not wearing masks, we don't put mask on. I've had folks come in with masks and ask if they had to wear them. But it's so off the charts, inconsistent, excuse me. We just went to the grocery store. We weren't wearing masks down here. I'm kind of over it. I know it's a bad thing and things have happened, but I think a lot of people are they're done and they're ready to get back to somewhat normal life that we can get back to.
Yeah, I've kind of observed the same thing. You know, even though we're seeing spikes in different parts of the country, I think if, you know, state and local governments were to try and shut things down again, it'd be very difficult. Which, you know, I think could, you know, potentially create some problems, especially if we, you know, catch another wave coming up in the fall. Trent, one of the unique things about you, and we've talked about this over the years and on podcasts and different things, is you're the face of the business. And I know that is good and in some ways challenging, but talk about that. You know, it's fun because in our industry, when you see owners or people that become the face of the business, there really has been tons of success connected to those two things. When you have a face of the business, you make it personal and you build trust with your communities. Those stores have been very successful in many cases. Talk about your experience being the face of the business and give us some of your funny stories. I like the McDonald's story.
The McDonald's story.
Yeah, the guy, you walked in and one of the gals that was working at McDonald's.
Oh, that started singing my rap. You know, it's it's a blessing and a curse, honestly. It's a blessing. It's a blessing because when I walk out of my store, I'm still Trent Betting. I'm not Trent Ranburger. So anywhere I go, people recognize me and they think I'm a celebrity. And I hate that word with a passion, but they think I am. And that's like I tell people, I don't get paid to be on TV. I got to pay people to put me on TV. But when I go to McDonald's or anywhere in public, people will ask me about mattresses. So I can literally sell a mattress anywhere I'm at. It's the curse of it is I'm Trent Betting 100% of the time until I get home. I can't be Trent Ranburger. So I have to be very careful about what I do and when I'm out in public. Not that I'm a hellraiser or anything of that nature, but you know, things happen. So, but it is a blessing to and I was warned in the beginning, if I really wanted to do that and be the face. And I jokingly said, I want people in California to know who Trent Betting is. And yeah, it's been a wild 14 years, but it's worked really well. We've been very blessed. It's been really good for us.
All right, tell us that story for people that don't know. When you said, I want people in California to know Trent Betting, how did you make that happen?
Do what now?
Whenever you said, I want people in California to know Trent Betting, you actually made that happen and beyond. Tell people that story.
Okay, sorry about that. What was that question again?
No problem. I was saying, you mentioned you wanted people in California to know Trent Betting. You made that happen, and you made it even bigger than just California. Tell us that story for people that probably haven't heard it.
I mean, I think I understood the question. Tell you the story. I'm sorry, my phone is really crappy. It's hard to hear.
Maybe I should type it out in the chat.
That's
okay.
Sign language or something.
You made Trent Betting known worldwide. How did you make that happen?
Social media.
Yeah, but tell us the story about.
Commercials.
Tell us the story about the commercial.
So, the first one that really took off, I'd been in business about 6 months, and I was doing the family-friendly, local, my kids, and all of that, and was working great. So, and the production company came in. He said, "What are we shooting today?" And I said, "I have no idea, but I want to be on the roof." And Christy, she's my sales rep. He said, "She's never going to allow you to get on the roof." I said, "Well, she doesn't have a choice. I'm getting on the roof." And So long story short, I had to go through a party store to get on the roof, and it was a 4th of July commercial I was shooting, and we shot the commercial, me and my daughter. It was a great commercial. Up to that point, it was probably one of the best lighting. Everything was perfect. But when I was in the party store, I seen an Uncle Sam outfit, and it haunted me all night long, basically. And the next morning on my way to work, I called Christy and I was like, hey, I want to reshoot that commercial. And she was like, wow, that's the best one we've done so far. I was like, yeah, but I want to be Uncle Sam on the roof. And literally everyone tried to talk me out of doing it because they were worried I would ruin my marketing of being a wholesome family-owned business. And I was like, you know what, we're going to try it. And if it doesn't work, we can go back to that. And from that moment forward, we've done nothing but crazy, silly commercials. And I put them all on YouTube. And this was like 2007. So YouTube was fairly new. And I just started putting all my commercials on YouTube. And I was Fred Flintstone. I was Austin Powers. We've done a rap. I mean, I've done everything. And then one day a lady calls me and she was like, hey, I come across your Austin Powers commercial on YouTube and we want to use it for a TV show. And I was like, what TV show? But she was very hesitant to tell me what TV show it was. And some of you guys may have watched it. It was called World's Dumbest on True TV. And when she told me that, I was like, yeah, go to my YouTube and look at the other videos. And they wound up using 4, 5, 6 of my videos. I got roasted on national television, but it worked.
I'm going to put the link in the chat over here just so you can go to Trent's YouTube page and check out some of those doozies.
They're the most ridiculous commercials ever. And at one point, I'll never forget Philip. He was the guy shooting all my commercials in the beginning. He came in to shoot a commercial one day and he's like, dude, I wonder how many people actually think we're trying to shoot good commercials. And I was like, I don't know. We'd probably be surprised. And I don't have a box I think in, and I don't have to answer to anybody and get it approved. I just literally write the commercial myself and we shoot it. And it's kind of nice that way.
Well,
right or wrong, I have no one to blame but me.
What have you seen being like your biggest hits from a foot traffic driving standpoint? Have there been any commercials you're like, yes, this one drove traffic to the store?
Both of my raps that I did. The original rap in 2009 with my daughter, man, still today, people sing that song to me. And then the one we just did a couple of years ago, we kind of revised it and actually shot a music video, basically. Those two have been the biggest ones that keep me top of mind and people know Trent betting. Very fortunate to be crazy, I guess, and do crazy things, and it works really well.
What's your sense of why that actually worked? Like, what was it about the raps versus the crazy costumes and Austin Powers and Uncle Sam? Like, have you put any analysis around that?
It's the jingle. It gets stuck in people's heads, and they get stuck in people's heads. Bottom line, I mean, I've had people tell me that, like, God, I can't get that out of my head now. Thanks. And, I got to give Sammy Stevens, I don't know if anybody remembers back in the day, Flea Market Montgomery. Somebody posted his commercial on YouTube, and it kind of went viral back in the day. And we kind of copied his rap. But I didn't kind of copy it. It was pretty much copied. But, I got his permission. He actually came to the store and hung out. And, but that one really took off. And that's what people talk about still today. And that was 11 years ago. So,
and that was, I remember Sammy Stevens, right? Is that what he said?
Yep. Sammy Stevens.
Yeah.
Super nice guy.
It's almost like a mini mall.
That's it. That's it. That's the one. His it's just like a mini mall, and mine was it's just like a mattress store. Man, he loved it.
What was the gal? You sent me a video of this gal who was working behind the counter at McDonald's. You just went in to get some food or a drink, And she, like, right in the middle of the store, she was a worker and everything behind the counter, just like holds up her phone, starts playing this song and like dancing flat out behind the counter at McDonald's. What song was that?
That was my second rap. That's the one we just did a year or two ago. And yeah, no, I was getting lunch, and like I said, I gotta be on guard everywhere I go in public. I was just minding my own business, and the next thing I know, one of the ladies, she was actually a manager, came out and just like pretty much shut the whole McDonald's down and put on a show behind the counter, and I had to record it. I mean, it was hilarious, but you know, it's humbling and honoring that they can remember that and do that.
You know, we talk from time to time about this. I'm going to put the Sammy Stevens video so you have the original that you can go watch that Trent spoofed. But, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, music kind of being the side door into people's minds. You can put messages in there that stick, that people don't criticize. And then, like you said, people just, everywhere you go, they're having fun with you because they see it as something that's fun and enjoyable. I remember you telling me about like walking into like an Italian restaurant right next door and people just look up and start singing at you.
Mm-hmm. They do. You know, it's because I put myself out there and I'm very approachable. You know, I'm not standoffish, and my commercials portray that because that's truly me. And, you know, that's truly my sense of humor in all of my crazy commercials. But people resonate with that I'm not off-putting and I'm very approachable. And I've humanized my store to where we're not trying to sell you something other than a good night's sleep, and they know that in a fun way.
What's your tagline?
If I won't have it in my house, I won't deliver it to yours, which is trademarked. And that came about. That's been in every commercial I've ever shot, because back to Christy, she was my first rep for a cable advertising. I'll never forget the meeting we were sitting, and she's like, "What do you want to be? What are we going to do?" And we were just talking about, you know, we were strategizing about marketing and what we were going to do, because I'd been doing marketing for another mattress company for a lot of years. So I knew marketing, I knew how to buy, and I knew how to do all that, but I'd never done it for myself. And we were just talking, and she was like, "But what are you? You know, what is Trent Bedding? What's the message?" I was like, "I don't know." And literally I blurted it out. I was like, literally, if I won't have a product, I won't deliver it to you.
And it stuck just that easy.
That's it. That's the line. And every commercial since then has been there.
It's almost like a mission statement. Oh, there you are. Welcome back to the video.
I don't know what happened. Now I don't see you guys. But no, that's what happened. It was a random thought that came out of my mouth, and we both just looked at each other and was like, "Holy crap, that's it." And commercial 1 to commercial, the last one I shot, it ends every commercial. And people repeat that to me all the time. 95% of it, or 95% of the time, they say it wrong. I never correct them because they just came up to me out of the blue and give me my tagline.
What are some of the things they say? How do they get it wrong?
It's if I won't deliver it to you, I won't have it in my house. And if I won't deliver, it's all kinds of different ways they say it. And I just smile and agree and tell them I can take care of them. I never really correct them because they're trying. And I love that.
It reminds me of the old furniture factory outlet commercials. I don't know if anybody ever saw those, but they had this older man and this older woman, and they were like, you know, grandma and grandpa sitting there, and the old man at the very end of the commercials would never say furniture factory outlet correctly. And the audience is just sitting there waiting for him to say it correctly just one time. And so they were saying the name of the brand in their head over and over and over again. And the old man never got it right. It reminds me of the same thing.
That's it.
What are some of the tell us the story. I remember you mentioning you've defined yourself as you put yourself out there, like you said, you connect with people, you're truly who you are, and you have kind of this fun, wacky, whatever you want to call it, brand that's really well known in the marketplace. And you've had people come along and try to do the same thing. Tell us a story about the guy that dressed up. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
Tell us that story.
Well, I have set myself apart, and it's hard to copy my craziness because thank God there's only one crazy in this world like me. But there was another store in town that they started dressing up in a costume, and we all knew what they were doing, which was fine, whatever. But and I won't say the store or the costume, but I have sold so many mattresses because customers would come in and ask where that particular costume was and why wasn't I wearing it. I'd always just say it's hanging in the back, and they thought that store was me. So technically, they were advertising for me inadvertently. I can't tell you how many sales I made with people coming in, and literally their first words would be, "Where's that blah 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 costume at?" And it's in the back. I'm not telling you it's not me because you're in my store. So it is what it is. I'm glad their marketing worked for me.
I love that story because I talk about this from time to time on the podcast. If somebody else tries to play your game, you're going to be better at it than them. But it also comes down to really defining your brand and creating your position in the marketplace. And if somebody comes along and you've created that position where you're first in people's minds and they try to recreate it, they're not going to be able to do it or not be able to do it well. And in this case, it really takes it a step further. Not only can they not do it, but it's actually going to drive traffic to the brand that is known for those things, which was Trent Bedding.
That's it. And it worked well for me at no cost. And they probably never realized what was happening.
Trent, what would you say to people who are trying to figure out their identity? Retailers that are like, I really need to kind of figure out who I am so I can go and like put the creative work out there and do all these things that magnifies, who I am. What the people that are uncertain about who they are, how would you think about coaching them?
The first thing, I would try to find out who they are as a person. And really play off of their true person and their true personality and go from there. That would be where I would start is really who you are. I mean, and where do you see yourself in 10 years? What do you want in 10 years or 20 years or 5 years? But to me, it would be just being true, being you. People buy people. They'll take your products home. And that's how I train every one of my salespeople is you're not selling mattresses, you're selling yourself because people buy people. And I would really have to start there with somebody of who are you and you as a person, not your business. And then we can go from there. And that would be my first step.
We just had an author on the show on Monday's podcast, and his name's David Sachs, and he's written for the New York Times, Business Week. He's written 4 books, and his most recent book is called Soul of an Entrepreneur. And he says a lot of things that just really reinforce what you're talking about, Trent. He says your reason is your business, like the why behind everything you're doing, and that really comes down to you as a person.
It really does. It really does.
Well, let's talk about that as a blessing and a curse, because you've said that a few times. So Trent Bedding is really tied to Trent Ranburger, you as a person, you as a personality. And that has created some problems for you. And one of the things you did to start figuring out how to deal with those problems is you did what most people would do. You created a puppet.
Who doesn't create puppets?
Tell us the story behind Little Trent and why you did that and what the impact has been.
Well, initially, another company in town was using like army ant puppets. Like, it's a pest control company, and it's actually a pest control company I use. We're really good friends. And I was on the phone with Steve, which is Scuba Steve, my vice president. We was on the phone one night, and I was like, man, I want a puppet. He's like, what the hell? Why do you want a puppet? And I was like, I don't know why I want a puppet, but I want a puppet. And, you know, it started evolving that night, and he was like, dude, if you get a puppet, it's gotta be you. And I was like, most definitely. So I contacted that company, and lo and behold, 3 or 4 weeks later, Little Trent was a creation. And I've been trying to use him more and more to move my face kind of away from the business, but yet still be in the business, so that, you know, I can eventually maybe come off of television and it can be Little Trent, and that will be the face of our marketing. Now, that's not to say this is going to happen in the next 2 years. I mean, it's going to take a lot of years, but it's a way for me to ease out, so to speak. Little Trent he was a rock star day one in our community. People come in the store, they want to take pictures with him. They want to see him. They ask, just about everybody that comes in the store asks where he's at. And I tell them he's right up there on the shelf, making sure we don't get in trouble. But he's became a figure, and people think of him as a real person. I mean, they really do. It's crazy. And he's worked really, really well.
So it worked really well. How? Like, tell us like the impact. Tell us some stories. Did you see a sales increase, foot traffic increase? What are some of the things that bubbled up?
All of that. Foot traffic was up, is up. Sales have been up. It's just the fodder and the rumblings you hear everywhere I go. They talk about Little Trent. He's just kind of a great talking point, and it breaks the ice, so to speak. It eases us into conversations with anybody, whether in the store or if I'm in Tampa Bay Airport. Either way, somebody's going to mention Little Trent, and it just lets me know that people pay attention, they see him, and they want to know what he's doing next. It's almost like he has his own life, and people are really intrigued as to what he's going to do next.
You're really good at grabbing people's attention, and you know that's the first thing you have to do in an over-communicated, noisy world where everybody's got a message, everybody's got marketing. You got to do something different to grab attention. Have you been able to break down like your thought process on? Because I heard you say 2 things during this call alone. I wanted to be on the roof, but I wasn't sure why. And I wanted to create a puppet, but I wasn't sure why. You just have these instincts, or how could you coach people around that?
Yeah, I have instincts. I don't know what they are. I don't know why, but don't be afraid, I guess is what I could coach and help. Don't be afraid to think outside of the box. Don't be afraid to be abnormal, funny, different, you know. And it's almost like I'm performing. You know, I speak to college classes on marketing and business every semester, and like I tell them, you know, when I first opened business, I shot commercials to sell mattresses. Now I find myself selling mattresses to shoot commercials. But don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to step out of the box. Don't even have a box. If you've got a second guess it, maybe run it by somebody, but don't let anybody suppress your ideas and thoughts, because it could be your next $1 million idea that you don't go after because somebody said, I don't think that's a good idea. If it's not a good idea, pull it. but try it. At least try it. I mean, don't do anything crazy and really dumb, but, just be fun, relax. I mean, we sell rectangles. Like I tell people, buying and selling mattresses can be very boring, and you got to have fun somehow. So let go.
Let's ask Trent a few questions. If you have a question, unmute your line. I do want to start with something that Frank, you put it in there first, and then it looks like Bob Munkle, you put it in there as well. Frank, what did you mean by smart like Bob's? Bob's Discount Furniture did what?
Well, they took Bob off the screen and went to a puppet version of Bob, or an animated version of Bob, and it continued his persona, but it let Bob be this character. And Bob was Bob. And just like you're saying, be yourself. I think, Trent, you're really saying, and you're doing a great job of being yourself, and everyone needs to be themselves. Not to try too hard at being themselves, but honestly be yourself. And that's what comes across with you. And it's amazing. It's great.
I would echo that with what Frank's comment was, because that's what I was thinking when you were describing how Lil Trent came about. What Bob did is he transferred over time his personality, his entire persona, his entire message to this animated character. And then Bob no longer, the aging Bob, the human being that changes over time, just was no longer on camera and was animated, and it's now forever. And Lil Trent could be forever.
That's it. I mean, that's honestly, I agree with you fully, because when I first started shooting commercials, it was with me and my daughter. She was 6, and everybody knew us, and they talked about loving watching her grow up on TV. And well, now she's 20, and I have a grandson, and my son has no desire to be in commercials. So it does allow me to have a child that never gets old.
I have a question for you, Trent. A lot of innate marketers, people who are big personalities, people who are bold, people who are willing to put themselves out there and take a chance and then run with what works and pull what doesn't. Often those people really build businesses that are much larger than one store. So help me understand why Trent is just one store and it's not 12.
I've been asked that a lot. I don't know. I would like to possibly have more stores. It's just, I don't know. It's almost like I'm good doing what I'm doing, and I'm very happy doing what I'm doing. And I don't want the added stress of 12 stores or 10 stores with the employees and everything else. I'm very happy with what I have. I mean, we're quote unquote have a successful business, and I use that term relative because everyone has a different opinion of success. I mean, could I scale this to have 10 or 15, 20, 30, 100 stores? Yeah. I mean, with my business model, I mean, it would be no problem. It's just finding the right people that believe the same way you do and believe in you, believe in the business, that wants to grow the business like that. And those people are a lot of times hard to find. So, maybe one day, who knows? I just, if the right people came along and wanted to scale it with me or help scale it, sure, let's run. But I'm very happy with what I do out of my one store.
That was something that this guy, David Sachs, that we had on the podcast on Monday, talked about. He said, in kind of modern culture, we get caught up in this idea of what is an entrepreneur. And we focus our attention on Silicon Valley and raising big sums of money. And that becomes our definition. And that's where that becomes the hyper focus for all of society. But meanwhile, that's really not what entrepreneurship is. And for many people, it's, a lifestyle business, or it's a single store, or it's something that provides for their family, something they can pass along to kids. And so, it does become that struggle about, what do I want? Where do I want to go? You mentioned that earlier, Trent, where do I want to be in 10 years? And if you're humming along with a great business that you love, then there's that tension to grow or not grow.
Yeah. It's I forgot my thought now. AD. Yeah.
You got people to believe your message. You got people to believe what you wanted, and that's what we do as an entrepreneur, is get them to believe our message. And you did that wonderfully. People repeating your tagline, whichever way they did, they got it, and
They got it.
That's a win. That's the win.
That's it. 100%. That's the win. But you said a great word. Believe. They believe it because it's true. It's not falsehood. And if you get people to believe you, and I think Mark, you said it earlier about being yourself, or someone said it. Don't work too hard at being you. Because that can come across as fake. And if you get people to believe you, they're coming to see you. So yeah, you're exactly right.
What other questions do we have for Trent? I'm going to post a link here, and I want you to talk about this, Trent. While you think about your questions, make sure you're unmuted. But there's a link here in the chat to a post that, Trent, you put up about your scoliosis. Tell people about that and about deciding to share that publicly and what the effect has been.
The effect has been amazing. Truth is, I've got scoliosis. I've got an 84-degree cob curve in my back, and if you see the link, that's a true MRI picture of my back. I've had specialists come in the room to see me stand up because they can't believe I'm standing up. And June is Scoliosis Awareness Month. Who knew? I did. But for a lot of years, I was very. I kept it hidden. I was out, and it's definitely nothing to keep me down and keep me from doing anything I want to do. And I just decided to make that post, and it's been really awesome. Some of the comments and messages I've gotten, phone calls I've actually taken from parents that have children with scoliosis or another disease or whatever the case may be, thanking me for giving them something to show their child in proof that, look, you may have this problem, but this person's got this problem and they're okay. And this is what you do. Don't let your problem, whatever that case may be a hindrance in your life, and don't let it stop you from doing anything you want to do. I've taken a lot of phone calls, and actually just had a gentleman call me the other day that because of that post, he runs a cyber sex community business, trying to keep people aware about all the predators and everything online. And he's been wanting to get into, like elementary schools, but he didn't have a way really, that he could talk to the little kids. And he now wants, because of that post, he contacted me and wants me and little Trent to start going into these elementary schools and kind of giving that message of, don't let anything stop you. Whatever you've got wrong with you or don't have wrong with you, don't let anybody or anything, stop you. So I'm going to be working on that with him when I get back. And that's going to be so much fun, because just to know if I could help one person be a little more confident or happy, then my day is, my year is made.
And it's just like you talked about earlier, Trent, being able to put yourself out there and people connect with your vulnerabilities, not your victories. And that allows you to then go be in front of other people to share important messages that through that partnership, like you talked about, will impact people's lives, but also the Trent Betting message about kids and sleep. And it all comes from you putting yourself out there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so transparent. You don't get more transparent than an MRI, right? I mean, it's you. No, they get to see all of you, and that's a great message, and people trust that and they believe in that.
Mark, I
Yeah,
think
it's
it's an
and
interesting
that's
point about vulnerabilities, and that people definitely connect with vulnerabilities, but they're more likely to accept the victories and see victory in their own life because of the vulnerabilities. It's the vulnerabilities that set themselves up, saying, you know, I can do that because you just did that, or something like that. It really kind of sets the table and makes us all equal, and then everything becomes obtainable from there. I'm sorry, I interrupted you, Trent.
no. I'm glad you did. That. I love that because you're exactly right. Um, you know, I don't guess I did it trying to feel like I'm being vulnerable, but I mean, I guess so a little bit, but that's not. It just shows that we're all human and no one is perfect. And I am a very transparent person when it comes to my business and myself. I mean, I'm me, and I can you connect with people like that. We all do, and it's I couldn't see myself doing it any other way.
Adam, will you tell your story that you just put into the chat section?
Sure thing. I can really relate, Trent. Thanks for telling that story, and thanks for sharing. I've got a rare condition called Klippel-Trenaunay syndrome. It affects everything from my vascular system to my lymphatic system, but most noticeably, my right leg is twice the size of my left leg. So, growing up, teenage years, all through that was hidden. High school friends had no idea. As I grew older and found other people that have it and found support groups that try to help people, I kind of did the same thing. Thanks to my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, she kind of helped me get over the fear of showing it and embracing it. And I've been able to do that, and it's helpful in so many ways. Somewhat in business, on the little bit selfish side, it helps me sell adjustable bases because elevation is my best friend. I actually have a blood clot right now in my leg, so I've been working from home. I have to keep my foot elevated, so that's the story I have on the sales floor. But the most gratifying thing has been meeting other people that have it. They're trying to embrace not hiding their condition. I was actually at a medical conference 2 years ago, and a little girl was, I think, 4 or 5 years old, and someone grabbed me and said, "Come here, you need to meet this girl." I had no idea what was going on. And she was affected just like me. Her right leg is disfigured. She has to wear compression on it. And she just she looked, but she wouldn't talk to me. And I could tell she was just, really nervous about meeting new people because she knew she was different. But later that night, she opened up to me and she noticed that our legs were the same. She said, "My right leg is that way too." And she said, port wine stain is another part of this, and so that's actually on a big part of my body. She said, "This is also my left side." When we were in the pool and I showed her mine, I was like, "Me too." The smile on her face, she lit up. She said, "You're just like me." And I mean, 2 years later, I remember that like it was yesterday. I talked to her mom a lot on Facebook. They live a couple of states away from us, but to be able to help her open up and see, yes, you're different, but you're not the only person that's different. So yeah, Trent, I really applaud that, that you came in. I saw that LinkedIn post as well. It's not an easy thing to do, but it does embrace that we're all different. And there's no need in having to worry about it or thinking about it or anything like that. So yeah, it's quite a gratifying thing to be able to do that.
It really is, and it's almost a selfless, selfish thing. If I can help somebody, it makes me feel good. So it's kind of being selfish, but I'm being very selfless because I want to help as many people as I can. And that's an amazing story. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, sir. Like I said, for over half my life, it was hidden. I mean, it literally, I didn't wear shorts. I didn't expose it. If we were at the beach or the pool, I was hesitant to even go. Yeah, on the selfish side, it feels better to not have to hide that, but at the same time to be able to impact other people. And I work with that charity now, doing different things as far as fundraising or whatever to help other patients. And try to help other people do the same thing because so many struggle with that. So it's quite gratifying, no doubt.
Yes, it is. I fully agree.
That's an amazing story, Adam. And I love that on that day and that moment, that little girl's life probably changed.
It did, because to literally see her clam up at first, because I kind of got thrown at her face, but yet that same night, the smile on her face in the swimming pool. I mean, I know where we were in the pool, which motel. I mean, know everything about it because I saw that change, that switch. And we were supposed to meet again this July, but due to the COVID deal, we had to postpone our next conference. So a little heartbreaking there because we're looking forward to the reunion, but no matter what, that'll always be with me.
And I love hearing from people in this industry because we, especially the retail front, get to interact with the public, get to come across a lot of people that may have, different things they're dealing with. They're trying to use sleep to improve their lives. And we get a chance to, take some of these things that may look like challenges and turn them into a positive. And I hear that time and time again. That's one of the things I love about this industry. I remember this old story. I used to do a radio show. I did it for 4 years early in my career. And there was some guy doing a 50-state motorcycle tour. And this guy walks in, and he was just a giant, and he smelled like gasoline, sits down as part of this interview I was going to do with him. And he just starts telling stories. And this guy had ridden his bicycle across the United States 6 times. His name's Frosty Wooldridge. I didn't know who he was. But he was like this college professor, motorcycle riding, bicycle. He did all these trans bicycle tours. He had ridden down in South America. The only continent he hadn't ridden his bike on was Africa. He had even ridden his bike in Antarctica. That's where he got his name, Frosty. And he told me that one time he was riding his bike across the southwest of the United States, and he thought he was hallucinating because he looked down the road and kind of the ripples of heat were coming off the pavement, and he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. And he gets closer and he gets closer, and there was a man walking on his hands. And he got closer, and the man was walking on his hands down the highway with no legs. Whips his bike off the road, and he sees the guy had these big pieces of a rubber tire strapped to his hands, and he would flip himself up and put his body in the air and walk. And he was walking across the United States. His name is Bob Weiland. And Bob was a powerlifting champion. He ended up being the strength and conditioning coach for the Green Bay Packers. And he was just this guy who had just taken what had happened to him. He lost his legs and refused to let it define him, and was out impacting, thousands of lives through some of his athletic feats and through his coaching with the Green Bay Packers. And it always just stuck with me as like, gosh, talk about taking something that's a challenge and using it to really change people's lives. So I love what you guys are doing. And I'm sure even on this call, there are probably other people that have similar stories.
Are we sharing experiences in motel stories? Is that what you're saying, Mark?
Go for it.
No. I'm not.
No, we might not want to do that.
Well, Trent, thank you so much for taking time out while you've been away from the office, which I know is rare, and hanging with us. This is our final Campfire conversation. The 6-week series wraps up. Sans Quinn, by the way. I don't know. I can't keep track of the guy these days, but we'll just hope that he's off doing some good in the world, and I know he is. He said he was sorry he couldn't make it. But yeah, make sure and send out that link to people at the top of the chat to try to get a sense of who's going to go to Vegas Market. Thank you all for being here, and we'll try to figure out kind of where we go from here, because I've enjoyed the community and the stories and just having fun and seeing some friendly faces.
Thank you, Mark, for putting this
Thank you.
together. It's been great, and thank you for allowing me to kind of be on here today and talk with everybody, and thank everybody for staying with us and hanging out for the hour.
Yeah, and if you have any questions for Trent, you can always head over to trentbetting.com, or he's all over social media and very responsive. So you can always reach out to Trent and get in touch with him. And then if you want to drop me a note, Mark at England, or get you there.
If you,
Hey,
yeah,
Mark,
and I'll
just
if you send me a message on any of my platforms, it's me that answers them. I run about 15, 20 social media accounts. So, but it's me that answers them. So if you have any questions, please shoot me a message. Don't email me.
Hey, Mark, just to close up a loose end, it's the Las Vegas website. It's the actual registration site. They're asking retailers to sign up for one of the two sessions. The first one is Sunday through Tuesday. The second one is Tuesday through Thursday. And they're stating that if one fills up, then they'll revert everybody to the second one. So that's at least the current status of it. Can't help but think that some of that will change between now and then, but that's where they're currently.
Good to know.
As far as I knew, summer market lasted Sunday through Monday.
Right. Pretty much,
For
yeah.
guys like you and me, it does.
Mine
Now
does.
it's through through Thursday, through our Friday.
Thanks for that note, Dave. I appreciate that.
Thank you,
Very
Dave.
good.
Thank you. Thank
Hey,
you,
have a
guys.
good
I'm going
week,
to jump
guys.
off here.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks again.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Good to see y'all.
Thanks.
Mark.